Now, it's become clear over the last 24 hours that after Premier League meetings and much decision-making, that it's highly unlikely that we're going to have any more football this year for reasons that are pretty obvious. There is, even behind closed doors, I think most people agree, there's a health risk to players, coaches, people who are working in the grounds. It's unlikely that there's going to be any football for us to watch, but there's been a lot of fascinating conversations about football, and now what we're going to do on the stand today is get two of the most brilliant footballers and two of the most brilliant footballing minds to pick their best team since the Premier League began, and I'm going to join in with my best team as well. And we're going to put them up on our Facebook page, and you can indicate, if you follow the stand, which team you think is best and which team you think would win in a three-sided competition. So it's a pleasure to welcome John Giles and Liam Brady to the stand. And I'm going to start, John, with you, because you are the elder statesman. And what I'd like you to...
By a long way, yeah.
Well, by a long way, yeah. I'm not even a statesman. I'm just elder.
No, I'm talking about my age, Eamon. I'm not talking about my actual statesmanship.
All right. Now, you have picked your team for a reason, as it were.
Well, I'll explain it probably better afterwards, Eamon. I picked my team in people who have served the Premiership over a number of years.
Yeah.
And I'd say that there might be a few Liverpool supporters disappointed that I'm not picking the present team, but
yes.
Most of the present team I'm not picking, and some of the present teams that some people would be picking. But the reason I'm doing that, I'm doing it with players who have finished their career, whereas some of the Manchester City players, Liverpool players, in 5 years' time or 4 years' time, if I was picking a team again, would be a different team altogether.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough. I mean...
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to say, I'm picking a team that I think are the best players that would beat any other team in Premier League history. Liam, I've actually heard Liam's team, some of them, and I actually nicked one of his players.
Well, if I can come in there, Eamon, I've gone much the same as John, apart from one player, that's all.
Okay, John, your goalkeeper and your two central defenders.
Okay, I'm going with Peter Schmeichel.
Yep.
I'm going with John Terry.
Yep.
And Vincent Kompany.
Ooh, well, now that's really interesting. Peter Schmeichel, I think I've gone with Peter Schmeichel, and I don't know what name's gone with, but I think you will. I'd like to ask both of you, actually. Liam, have you gone with Peter Schmeichel?
I have, yes. Yeah, I think, he was an absolutely brilliant goalkeeper for Manchester United when they were winning everything.
Yes, and I've gone with him too. John, the great qualities you look for in a goalkeeper, Schmeichel has them all. First of all, he commands that area. Very good coming out for crosses. Fabulous shot stopper. Got his defence organised. You could see him telling people where the problems might arise. Just a powerful example of everything that a goalkeeper should be.
Yeah, but he had a presence, Eamon, about him, and a confidence.
Yes.
Apparently, he didn't take any nonsense from anybody, including Roy Keane.
Yes.
He stood his ground, I believe, but you could see it on the pitch. He had this presence about him, as you say, a great athlete, a great build for a goalkeeper, very agile, great stopper. He was the best in the Premiership at that particular time, in my opinion, and I think your opinion and Liam's. I thought he was a great goalkeeper.
Yeah, Liam, it's important to look at all his qualities, and fascinating when you do look at them. He ticks every single box for a goalkeeper, doesn't he?
Well, I wouldn't have gone that far, ticking every single box, because there were other goalkeepers around who I did consider, the likes of Peter Cech, particularly when he was playing for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Also, David Seaman, when he was playing for Arsenal as well, was top class. But Michael, as John said, had that presence. Could be a little bit headstrong, could lose it a little bit, come charging out of the goal. But no goalkeeper is bulletproof. There's been no goalkeeper hasn't made mistakes. But I just think over the course of his career, from 91 to 99, he was the outstanding goalkeeper in England.
Right. Now, Liam, you and John, and I have also all gone for Schmeichel. Your two central defenders, Liam.
Well, I've gone for John Terry, like John. Presence, that we're going to use that word quite often, I'm sure, when we go through the personnel of this team. But Terry was an absolutely fabulous defender. Probably one of the best box defenders there was. Eamon blocked off the near post, anything in the air. He was very, very strong. He probably was one of those defenders didn't want to get drawn too far away out on the flanks, because if he did have a weakness, it was probably a little bit of pace. But he made up for it with reading the game.
Yes.
And he seemed to be in the right place at the right time when defending his box. And he could also chip in with a goal or two. You know, I think he scored over 40 goals for Chelsea in the league. And that's some gone for a centre-back.
Yeah, John, you've also gone for John Terry, and I have gone for John Terry as well. I have to admit I lifted him because I spoke briefly to Liam yesterday and he mentioned it. Well, it's funny when you start this exercise, you kind of forget people a little bit. Now, I was always a huge John Terry fan. He organised everything around him. I agree with Liam. I wouldn't say he was a little bit short of pace. I'd say he was woefully short of pace, but it never seemed to really matter because he never put himself in a position where he'd have to be sprinting. He read it. He read the game so well. As Liam said, got a lot of goals, and he organised that Chelsea defence for a long period. Just your take on him, John.
Yeah, I thought he was an outstanding leader. And we talk about leaders in the game. I thought he was a great defender.
Yeah.
Eamon. You know, he was the one that was going to, if somebody's having a shot on the edge of the box, he was the one throwing himself at it to block it down.
Yeah.
I mean, you see a lot of defenders now, they're going in with their arms out of the hole of their face and getting their arms and getting the body out of the way to let the fella have a shot in. I don't know how many times I saw him over the years. Him, John Terry, blocking the shot.
Yes.
And you talk about his lack of pace. You know, the big thing about he certainly did, but his positional sense, and I think you and Liam have already said it, made up for that. You know, you're better having a defender with a positional sense, Eamon, than somebody who's quick. Because the fellow who's quick, by the time it happens, even his pace can't get him there.
Yeah.
Whereas John Terry was there before it happened, and he read the game well. He was a good leader, good distributor of the ball, Eamon.
Yes.
You know, particularly getting it on his left foot. He distributed the ball really well for somebody that was, in my day, it was, you know, defenders, particularly big, strong defenders, weren't expected to really expected to distribute the ball well. So his distribution was good. I thought he was a terrific player.
Yeah.
Really terrific defender.
Yeah, and he started his career, John, as a midfield player, believe it or not. When he was in the youth team.
Eamon, I think, you know, you say his lack of pace would be exposed in that position because he might be quick enough around the ball.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, with players, over the years we know in the game, Eamon, you know, if a player can play, the further he goes back and has the qualities to do it, the easier it becomes for him. And I'd say that's exactly what happened to John Terry.
Now, Liam, your second choice as central defender.
My second choice is Van Dijk. A little bit against what John is saying. Van Dijk hasn't even won the league yet, but he was going to win it this season until we were stopped in our tracks. But, you know, he's been absolutely brilliant for Liverpool for the last 3 seasons. And I weighed up all the players, all the ball-playing players, let's say, that go alongside a John Terry. I wanted to have one strong defender, really top-class defender, and the other fella to play out from the back and to sweep up and so forth. And I went through all the candidates. You know, Ferdinand came to mind, also Pallister, and Company probably was the one that ran Van Dijk closest. But I just, looking at him and looking at all those players, I think he's an actual better player than any of them. And he's the only current player to make my team. So I've gone for Virgil van Dijk because of his pace, because of his distribution from the back. Also the fact that he can chip in with goals as well. I just think he's better than anyone I've seen playing that position.
Yes, and John, you've gone for our friend Vincent Kompany. who scored that amazing goal that sealed the Premier League for Manchester City last season against Leicester. They were struggling. Clock was ticking. Didn't look like they were going to break Leicester down, and he got this amazing goal. But tell us why else.
Well, over a period of time, Eamon. I mean, that was a dramatic thing that he did. But I think he was 8 years, 9 years, 10 years at
he was
at
10 years.
City.
Yeah,
and that's no. I would agree with Liam. And I'm just saying that, as I said before, like, company's done it over 7 or 8 years or 9 years, whatever it was. You know, I think Van Dijk is a terrific player, Eamon. But company's already done it. I think company will do it. I think Liverpool are at a stage now, Eamon, where I think they have the basic stuff to go on and be a great team over the years.
Yes.
But it hasn't happened yet.
Yes.
You know, and I've no problem with Van Dijk at all. I think he's a terrific player. But company's done it over a period of time. And what I said early on was that, like, in another 4 or 5 years, if Van Dijk is still doing it and I was to pick a team, he probably would be in it.
Yeah, and one has to say about Vincent Kompany that his career has been plagued by injuries in its later stages. Another player, incidentally, who started off in midfield, but a fantastic leader and organiser. Again, the same quality John Terry has in terms of organising what's happening around him.
He had the pace. He had the pace, Eamon, as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, we talked about John Terry, didn't? And John Terry read it. Company read it well, but he had that extra bit of pace as well. And as you could see on the ball, like, his distribution was brilliant because he had been a midfield player who moved back into that position. You know, I thought he was. Like all the players we're talking about, was a terrific player.
Yeah, and of course, character shines through all the great players. I've gone for Van Dijk. I think he's magnificent. I really do. I think he's a leader as well. And I think he has pace. I just think the partnership and that triangle of Schmeichel, John Terry and Van Dijk would be invincible. And I think that triangle in any great team is absolutely essential, that it works. There may have been a few fights, I'd say, between Terry and Schmeichel, and no harm there, but you've got three strong characters, and I do think Van Dijk, I remember seeing him, which we all saw him first for Celtic, before he went to Southampton, and he didn't really catch my eye. I don't know about you, Liam. I mean, you pay closer attention to Celtic maybe than I do, but at Celtic he looked okay, but I didn't see an emerging superstar.
I think everybody was looking at the Scottish League and judging him harshly because of that. He was finding the football very easy, but I think a lot of people took a look, including Arsenal. I know that firsthand, and thought, wow, it's only Scotland he'll be found out in the Premier League. But the lads got better and better. He was very, very good for Southampton. Liverpool, probably their best signing in years and years and years to get him from Southampton.
Yeah, and I'd say that, John, there's a lot of coaches all over Europe, really, and clubs who think that's a guy we should have got for 75 million. He looks a bargain, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, I think when anybody does what he has done for Liverpool, Eamon, you're going to say, we go back on why didn't City go for him? And I don't know what was happening there. He was an obvious choice in that position, and Liverpool did well to get him, Eamon. You know, there's no
even
doubt
at Southampton, I wasn't sure when Liverpool paid 75 million. I actually thought they paid slightly over the odds. But boy, was I wrong. I mean, he was the foundation stone. Would you agree, both? I'd like to ask both of you, of the Liverpool construction, the team that Klopp has built. And don't forget, he's been there 5 years and he's had a lot of pretty dodgy players. I thought the signing of Van Dijk was the transformative moment.
Well, it was a big one, Eamon, that's for sure. I mean, he's a terrific player. I think it helped both of them, Eamon. I think it helped Van Dijk as well, because he's coming from a team at Southampton who didn't have the players around him that he had at Liverpool. And you know, what he's very good at. The thing is with Liverpool, as you know, they don't have to defend that much, Eamon. Not as much as most teams, because they're on the ball so much. And the great thing about him is that what he couldn't show at Southampton is that they didn't have the ball so so much. So he wasn't able to use the skills that he has coming forward and getting into the play that he has at Liverpool. So they helped each other, but he's been I think he's been the signing for Liverpool that's made the team what they are today. There's no doubt about that. They've got terrific players, but I think that was a position that they weren't very good in my opinion. But he's made it, and he's slotted into the team brilliantly as defending, but coming onto the ball as well. His distribution is excellent as well.
Liam, just an outstanding example of how one signing at the right time can make a big difference to a team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, a key signing. I think the goalkeeper was as well.
Yeah.
I think they were suffering without Alisson.
Yes.
We saw them throw a Champions League final away down to the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
Van Dijk, a huge signing for Liverpool, a huge signing. And as John says, they're only going to get better, Liverpool, I think, over the next few seasons. And he's going to be the main man there to lead them on if they do. Go on to get more Champions Leagues and more premierships. He's got to be the key man.
Okay, John.
I mean, can I just say something there? I think getting Alisson, I think Liam alluded to it there. Yeah. That wasn't quite the signing of Van Dijk, but it wasn't far behind it, Eamon.
Yes.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Van Dijk was there when they had if you got a dodgy goalkeeper, Eamon, you could have 4 Van Dijks across the back, and you won't win things.
No,
they just let you down, and this guy doesn't let you down. And I think he's not quite as good a signing as Van Dijk, but he wouldn't be far behind it, in my opinion.
No, and they had Karius and Mingele before, two dodgy, and even this fella Adrian we saw in the Atletico Madrid match. No goalkeeper, no winnow. Now, John, your 2 fullbacks.
My 2 fullbacks, I've gone for Dennis Irwin at right back, and Baptiste Evra at left back.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Dennis, he really was a wonderful player, but tell us why you've gone for him. What qualities? Well, I suppose it'd be easier to say what qualities he didn't have. What qualities particularly?
Well, first of all, he had a lot of ability, Eamon.
Yes.
Never made a fuss. I mean, he played in a team where he hardly, like a lot of fullbacks, when they're playing in teams with the likes of Keane and Scholes and Beckham, and they don't get a mention, or very seldom get a mention.
Yeah.
That never bothered him. He got on with the job, whether he was at right back or left back. I think he was better on the right-hand side because he was right-footed. Just got on with the job. I mean, no fuss or bother about him. Wasn't looking for headlines. And that's a big thing in the game, because you get a lot of players that get jealous and they start doing things at fullback that they shouldn't be doing to get their name in the paper. None of that with Dennis Irwin.
Yep.
Just got on with it, did his job, and just week in, week out, no problem at all. No problems with him, Eamon.
Right. Now, your left back, Patrice Evra. Well, I would say, I'm not saying he's Wan-Bissaka now. I don't want to start a row.
Why not?
I will say one thing about Patrice Evra. They played Barcelona when Messi, I think it was before Pep was coach, and it was when Paul Scholes scored that amazing goal to win the tie. Evra marked Messi. Messi was playing wide on the right at the time, and over 2 games, he didn't give Messi a kick, which I thought was amazing. Otherwise, I think he was a bit of a rogue. But tell me why you picked him.
Well, again, I think he was quick. I think he could use the ball. He got plenty of confidence in himself. He didn't start off very well at Old Trafford. I thought it was going to be a bit of a failure, but he got better and better as time went on. He had the confidence to do it, to go into that team, having had a bad start, to make himself a player. He was good going forward, which when Manchester United needs somebody like that with the players that they had. And I just thought he was just a good all-round player.
Okay. Liam, your 2 fullbacks.
Well, like John, I've gone for Dennis Irwin, Mr. Reliable. Very, very good on the ball, right-footed, left-footed, could play either side, very versatile, excellent at free kicks, dead ball situations.
Good defender, Liam?
Yeah, very good defender. Never seen him exposed. I'd say he probably done his homework on who he was up against that day, and we got to know Dennis when he worked a little bit with us when for RTE on the panel occasionally, and he's a very serious guy.
Yeah.
And I would have said he went into detail on who he was up against, any particular player, any kind of winger. He knew their strengths and so forth. He was very, very studious in that regard, and just as John said, very reliable. Never made a fuss.
Yeah.
So I've gone for him right back, but I went for Ashley Cole left back. Now Ashley was brilliant for Arsenal, and he was also brilliant for Chelsea. He's had an unbelievable career in the Premier League. He won the Premier League, I think, 3 times at Arsenal. Won at Chelsea. Very fast fullback, quick into the tackle. Not unlike Everett, similar kinds of fullback. Both good at getting forward. Always willing to get on the ball. Very strong character. I think he's one of the best left backs that's been around now for the last 20 years.
Okay, well, I just was going to go for Trent Alexander-Arnold, but when I thought, why are you laughing? Don't go back to Wan-Bissaka. When I thought about it, I thought Dennis Irwin too. I think he was a really good defender. I think all the qualities you both ascribed to him, he had. And the quietness, modesty about him. I think Alex Ferguson loved him. I think whenever he got him, I think, for nothing from Oldham. And that's another factor, really. Dennis hadn't, I think, it was Leeds. He played for Leeds, didn't he, John?
He was released. He was released from Leeds.
Yeah, and he went to Oldham.
On a free transfer. Yeah,
on a free transfer. So, and as Liam said, when we worked with him in RTE, and whenever you met Dennis, very understated, very quiet. He'd been a great hurler in Cork, believe it or not. He could have been a star for the Cork hurling team, but a lovely man, and you never noticed him, but you never noticed his opponent either. And he was 2 good feet. He could play left back, which is very, very important. But he was a very, very the quintessential professional. Got on with his work, and a great player. I went for Robertson as left back, although if I'd really wanted to cheat, I could have maybe gone for Ashley Cole. I wouldn't have gone for Patrice Everett, but I do take John's point. He had a period. I mean, anyone who can stop Messi for 2 games is good. But I went for Robertson at Liverpool. I think he's an amazing player. I think he's an amazing attacking fullback. His delivery is very, very good. I think he's a leader. You notice him geeing up other people when Liverpool need a lift in a game. I think he's a very, very good defender as well. I'm not so sure now. I didn't see enough of Ashley Cole, Liam, to be honest with you, to pick him. But I do take the point you made and John's point about Everett. So probably I've got that left back position a bit wrong. But
I don't think you got it wrong, Eamon. The point I was making beforehand, I think in another 2, 3 years, 4 years, right?
Yes.
I think Robertson is terrific. I love him playing, right? And it's only my take on doing it in this way. I think that the future is in front of him.
Yes, I agree with that principle.
I have no doubt in my mind, if I was asked to pick the team 4 years' time, a 5 years team at the most, and Robertson keeps going the way he's going, and he doesn't get injury, and nothing happens to him.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a standout pick in that position. Okay,
now we get on to the really interesting and exciting part of a football team, midfield and front 3. I'm going to go to you, John, again for your midfield. So, go, baby.
Yeah, this was a difficult one, Eamon. I went for Paul Scholes, Patrick Vieira, Roy Keane, and Steven Gerrard.
Oh, you've had 4. So you're going 4-4-2.
Yeah, I'm going 2 up. I'm going 2 up front. It's the only way I can fit in the midfield players, Eamon. I feel terrible not picking Frank Lampard.
Yeah.
I feel terrible not picking David Silva, for example. I think they'd be great players in that position.
Yeah.
It's one of my most difficult picks in picking those particular players.
Okay, that's very interesting, and I'd be very interested. I mean, I was going to pick Vieira, I didn't in the end, but I'd be interested in Liam's take on that. And as I'm going 4-3-3, I made it even harder for myself in midfield. Liam, Patrick Vieira, I left out because I felt in Keane I had someone who'd do that job and more. First of all, what's your midfield, Liam?
Well, like John, I've gone for Vieira, Keane and Scholes. I've gone for 3 in midfield.
Right.
And you've got 2 brilliant, let's say, defensive midfield players, great tacklers in Vieira and Keane, full of energy, inspirational players. When the game is probably at its toughest, maybe go behind. They inspired their teammates to raise their game. Real great leadership qualities and very good on the ball as well, but not fussy. Roy Keane would rather probably give the ball to Paul Scholes than take on a pass himself. And Vieira would do the same, probably with Dennis Bergkamp in the team. He would, let Bergkamp do the creative things, but both Keane and Vieira could do it when they needed to do it. Both got a fair share of goals as well. They'd get in the box, and you remember that goal that Roy Keane scored against Juventus.
Yeah, I do, the header.
From a header. I think that epitomizes what I mean about leading the team when they're in a difficult period of a match.
Yes.
And I've gone for Paul Scholes because he's the guy in with those 2 who can make the final pass. He is very, very good in possession of the ball, hardly lost it, was a creative passer as well, found his forwards, found the wingers with very good passing, and then an absolutely brilliant goal scorer as well. When he got up around the box, he could steal into the box, sneak into the box, score goals when arriving late on the scene. And he also had a powerful shot as well. He could score goals from 20 yards, 25 yards with his right foot. So that's what I've gone for. And I've gone for 3 forwards up front. So I haven't picked Steven Gerrard, but he did come into my reckoning.
Yeah.
So did Silva, as John said. So did Frank Lampard. I considered all these guys, but I considered them in Paul Scholes' position. I wouldn't have taken Patrick Vieira or Roy Keane out of the team for anybody.
Okay, John, just to go and talk a little bit about Paul Scholes and what a fabulous, fabulous player he was. I mean, you played with Bobby Charlton, you've played with the greats, as indeed has Liam, of course. But Scholes is up there at the very, very highest level, in my opinion. Will you agree with me on that?
Oh, yeah. Paul Scholes was called what I would call a genuine midfield player.
Yeah.
Right. I think he was very unlucky at the time that he played with Gerrard and Lampard playing. And I think the managers tried to fit him in. I think he's a central midfield player who was brilliant at what he did, linked back to front and scored goals, did everything that you wanted him to do as a midfield player. And I think the England manager slipped up because they wanted Lampard and Gerrard in the team, who neither of them were central midfield players, and they used to push Scholes out to the left or right. Yeah. So he was never in the position that he should have been playing. I think he would have made an even bigger reputation had he been picked in his right position for the England team at international level. But at club level, he was a brilliant player. I mean, absolutely brilliant, world class. In my opinion, could link things from back to front. Was genuine in the way he played, scored goals. Didn't make a fuss at all. Got on with the job. And great temperament. No, I think he was I love Scholes playing.
Yeah, we all considered the same. I considered, like Liam did, and he said, I considered Lampard. I considered Steven Gerrard, of course, and you've put Steven Gerrard in your team. And there are games when he won them on his own for Liverpool, when he was inspired. But I remember when he was playing, you and I think Liam, were often critical of him for disappearing from the game at times and not really having the best positional sense.
Well, he didn't. I don't think he did, Eamon. But what he did have was the ability to score dramatic goals.
Yes.
I always described Lampard and Gerrard, funny enough, as strikers coming from midfield.
Yes.
I never thought either of them were genuine midfield players, Eamon, because there's a thing in the game, like, there's both of them are known as getting on the end of things.
Yes.
Right? Now, you can't get on the end of something unless you have a beginning.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
so when they played in midfield, they never linked up the back to front, so they never got a chance. They never got the chances that they had in teams that did have a midfield player to do that for them.
Right.
You know? So Gerrard scored dramatic. I mean, Frank Lampard, I hate leaving him out of the team, and the goals he scored for Chelsea.
Yes.
But I'm talking about Gerrard now. I mean, Gerrard scored these goals at a time when Liverpool weren't a great team.
Yes. Yeah.
And they were dramatic goals. He wasn't scoring goals, the 6 goal winning 6-0 win.
No.
These were dramatic goals in semi-finals, finals, and when they were doing what they did in the Champions League as he did. And he had the temperament to do that.
Yes.
In other words, he could be out of the game for ages, and then from nowhere, but over the years for Liverpool, he gave them unbelievable service, as Lampard did for Chelsea in his own way. But Scholes was a different player, because Scholes was a genuine midfield player.
Yeah.
He could initiate it. He could start it to get a finish, and obviously had players in his team that could finish, and he could finish a few himself. So there were different players altogether, and I think England made a big mistake at that time in not recognising what Scholes was a genuine midfield player, and the two other lads, Lampard and Gerrard, weren't.
Yeah, and I should say for our listeners that Paul Scholes retired from international football at the tender age of 29. I think he was fed up playing for England. Now, I'll just give you my midfield 3. Keane and Scholes, yes. And I put in Cesc Fabregas. The Cesc Fabregas that played for Wenger, starting in the Arsenal team, I think 16 or 17 years of age. Liam, I thought Fabregas at that period in his career was a wonderful, wonderful playmaking midfield player who could score important goals as well. But you saw more of him than either John or Wright. Tell me what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, as John described, Scholes there, so Fabregas had those qualities as well. Link plays up from back to front, receive the ball from the back and get it to his forwards in good positions. Had the ability to play that killer pass to get a forward in on goal, spread the play, run the game. All those kind of things. I just went for the other two. I went for Keane and Vieira because, you can imagine those two stood in front of the back four, Eamon, and how are you going to get at the back with those two? Yeah. They're colossus players. Yeah. So I did consider Fabregas, and it's very, very difficult. The midfield, all those players that John's mentioned, I considered as well. Gerrard, Lampard. Lampard scored 1 in 3 for Chelsea. An incredible record for a midfield player. Scholes was 1 in 5, but I just thought Scholes a better all-round player. Yes. And I go back to Keane and Vieira. If you wanted to win a match and you put those two guys in and surrounded them with quality players, I don't think you'd lose a game.
Okay, now we get to the really interesting, it's all interesting actually, and it's lovely to think. It brings back such great memories of these great, great players. And we should just say one thing about Roy Keane, whatever about his management and his temperament at times post his career, he was just one hell of a player, John, wasn't he, in every respect?
Yeah. I consider Fabregas as well, just to go back on that. But yes. To be honest, I don't think he marched on.
No, he didn't march on, John. He didn't. That's why I specified that first sort of period.
I'm not criticising you, Amy. Yeah. I just don't think he did. With the ability he had, he didn't get better as he got older. He stood still. But anyway, that's only my take on him. But Keane was one of the greats, Eamon, in his drive and his. I think Keane's personality showed itself on the pitch, Eamon.
Yeah.
In terms of what I found with great players, I mean, they're never satisfied with what they do. They always want to do better.
Yeah.
And Keane had that in spades.
Yes.
Now I think he took it out on his teammates as well.
Yeah.
But he would never let them take anything for granted, because he didn't take anything for granted himself.
Yes.
In other words, he was never satisfied with himself, and that was one of the things, the assets, in my opinion, that made him one of the great players. Because when they were up, I always found Keane was at his best when Manchester United or any team he played in was up against it.
Just as Liam pointed out there, in that game against Juventus, he'd already had a yellow card. He knew he was going to miss the final, and they were dying. They were struggling. Just before half-time, he comes up, and he wasn't a great header of the ball, but he came up and scored a beautiful goal with his head, just when it was needed.
Yeah, well, that's what he did.
Yeah.
You know, when it was at its toughest, I say Manchester United were 1 or 2 down, he was their best player. He kept them at it. He kept going. He had this drive. I think once they went 2 or 3 up, he could virtually come off the pitch.
Yes.
You know, that's the way it was, and that's why, like, because we hear that the Sunshine Boys, there's plenty of Sunshine Boys. But the boys, they're three up at 10 minutes. Give me the ball.
Yeah.
You know, if they're 1 down at home against a team that they should be beaten, they disappear.
Yeah.
Keane was the opposite.
He was
to that.
When I was doing the book with him, I mentioned that game because I thought he was magnificent. And he's a perverse. He said, "I didn't think I played well at all." I said,
"Well, that'd be him." That's what makes the players great. You know, I've never met a great player who was satisfied.
Very strange.
You know?
Anyway, go on. Tell me about Vieira.
Vieira was a terrific player. You know, he was, in my opinion, anyway, he was made for that role. In that he could dish it out, he could take it. He was a presence around the field, a little bit like Keane, as Liam said there. You know, you had those two in the middle of the field. You were never going to lose a battle, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And they had a few battles between them. But you know, he did his bit. He was another one. He wasn't a sunshine boy by any means. You know, he was there when they were up against it. Did his job. I thought he did a great job for Arsenal at the time, for his career at Arsenal. That's why I put him in there.
Okay, now front. Well, you've only got 2. You've gone 4-4-2, John. So
I have, yeah.
Give us your front 2.
Well, the reason I was doing that, I was trying to get the blooming midfield players in as best
you
I could.
can't have your cake and eat it. And the question is, who's going to win if they meet each other? I think I'll be very, very happy with my team. Go on. You've got too many in midfield. Go on.
Oh, too many of those players in midfield. I never heard that before. Anyway, up front, I've gone for Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yep.
And Thierry Henry.
Ooh, very interesting. Okay.
Yeah. And I hate leaving out Drogba, Eamon.
Yes.
As I hated leaving out Tony Adams, actually, at the back. I don't know whether it's but anyway, that's with those 2 up front. That's why I've gone with the 4.
Right.
But I've had to try and do what I could with the 4 in midfield or any midfield players.
Well, you've got plenty of goals in that team, John. You won't go short of goals. And Ronaldo and Henry, you know, they speak for themselves, really. I saw, I think, the Match of the Day book, guys, I saw some of Henry's goals. Liam, you saw more of him than either John or I. And is he in your team, Liam?
He is indeed, yes, Eamon. And so is Ronaldo. But as I only picked 3 midfield players, I picked Alan Shearer as the centre forward, the focal point of the team, you know.
Yeah, how good was Henry, Liam, at his best?
Oh, magnificent. You know, one of those players that, like Ronaldo as well, they could get the ball themselves and score goals absolutely down to themselves. Didn't need any help. They could dribble. His pace was absolutely electric.
Yeah.
When he came first, he was a little bit hit and miss when he got in on goal, and he had one-on-ones on the goalkeeper. But he worked hard at that, and over the course of his time at Arsenal, he became brilliant at it. You know, he became so composed in front of the goalkeeper when it was one-on-one. He'd either go round them or slip it either side of them or chip it over them. He could score any type of goal. Well, not brilliant in the air, you would say. For a big guy, he was a big guy. He wasn't that prolific in the air, unlike Ronaldo, who was shorter than him, but an absolutely brilliant header of the ball.
Yes.
But Henry had unbelievable pace as well, Eamon, and he could a match winner. All the three up front I've picked would be match winners. Goals from nothing, but particularly the two guys on the right and left of Shearer, complete match winners.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone for the same front three, John, as Liam. Shearer, just for the number of goals he scored, hard as nails, couldn't kick him, and bang, 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 scored goals out of nothing. And I've gone for Ronaldo for obvious reasons. I thought about Ronaldo when I first saw him, which I famously, publicly and stupidly said on television, this guy's, I don't know, a show pony or something like that. I thought there were questions about his temperament, and that the higher up he went in the game, the harder things got. That his temperament would let him down. I was totally wrong. I mean, it turns out when you read about him, he was a fierce trainer. He worked harder than anyone on the training ground. He practiced longer, and his temperament is amazing. But that was just my misreading of him. But he was phenomenal, and he's got better and better. Isn't that the point? Even when he left United, he got better, John.
Yeah, well, I was similar to yourself, Eamon. I had an old-fashioned, I still have an old-fashioned thing, that when you lose the ball, you want to get it back.
Yeah.
He didn't do that. That was totally against all my principles when I watched him at Manchester United.
Yes.
Of course, I didn't realise at the time that he had a temperament like no other temperament I knew in football, which was if 10 minutes went by and 15 minutes went by and he didn't touch the ball, it didn't bother him.
Yes.
He had one interest and one interest only, Eamon, scoring goals.
Yes.
Now, that's not a bad habit, but I didn't recognise that at the time.
No, I didn't either.
But to have the temperament, Eamon, in a match, to go 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and not bother about getting the ball because you're going to score. And he knew, see, I think he's an egomaniac, Eamon, and I mean that in a nice footballing way, in that he knew early on, if I score goals, I'm going to be the star man. So I don't care if I have to wait 10 minutes or 50 minutes or 20 minutes without the ball. If I score 2 goals or 3 goals or 1 goal, I'm going to be in the papers and I'm going to be doing my stuff because there's nothing more important than scoring goals.
Yeah.
And of course, I think Manchester United, any team he played with, learned to live with him doing that.
Oh,
I mean, there's certain people would say, "Why are you not getting back?" Like I used to say it. Look, he's lost the ball there. He's not getting back. Didn't bother. I'm going to score 2 goals. I'm going to be the man of the match.
Yeah.
Which he has been, as you see, time after time.
Yeah.
So he's one of the greats. I didn't regard him as one of the greats in the early days. Definitely not. I thought he was too lazy. He wasn't getting back. He wasn't doing the job for the team. But he certainly did the job for the team, scoring the goals he did.
Yeah, I mean, Liam, John and I have fessed up, and I'm not asking you because I don't know that you said anything as ridiculous as I certainly said, not John. But the thing about him is he may be narcissistic, but the players who've played with him like him, and his work ethic on the training ground to perfect this thing he had. There's no doubt, is there, that apart from Messi, but even including, he's going to be there with one of the great players in the history of the game, and he has. And it's very admirable, sustained his career into almost his mid-30s now. So he's a great, great player, and I was completely wrong.
He's been a great player for the best part of 15 years. I think the first couple of seasons at Old Trafford, there were things to dislike about him. Diving, play acting, pretending he was injured. All those kind of things were aggravating. They annoyed me as well as you and as well as John. But I think Ferguson must have worked on him, to say, get that out of your game. You don't need to be doing that. He does love himself. There's no doubt about that. And John's absolutely right. He's thinking only, I'm going to score goals or I'm going to make goals. The end product is what my job is all about. Yes. And there's been no better man. He's been him and Messi for the last 10 years, neck and neck, who's the greatest. Brilliant in the air, as I've already mentioned him, and he has that ability the ball coming to him in the air. He can seem to suspend himself in the air, and the power he can generate with his neck muscles are quite incredible. His physique is something to behold. He lets us see it from time to time when he notches, doesn't he? But,
every match game,
every game. But you look at it, his physique it's absolutely phenomenal, isn't it? And that's how well he's looked after himself and the work he's put in, Eamon, as you said. Also, the thing he brought to the game at Old Trafford was this ability at free kicks to somewhere hit the ball in the middle, and it would dip as it went over the wall, and the keeper had all sorts of problems with it. So a phenomenal. He got 42 goals, I think, in one season for Man United, 2007, 2008. And he won absolutely everything. I think he won the European Player of the Year, first player since at Old Trafford. I think I might be wrong, but since George Best, that seems to be a stat. I remember. So absolutely brilliant. We've all had a bit of a go at him down the time that we've been watching him playing, but I think you have to hold your hands up and say, well, man, what a player.
Okay, well, I'd just like to say to you both, John and Liam, how pleasurable it has been listening to your teams and the reasons behind your selections. We're going to put the teams up, I would say, to our listeners on our Facebook page and on Twitter, and you can let us know what you think. But it's been a really enjoyable...
Eamon, can I just say something there?
Yes, indeed.
I think the three of us have picked 8 players in all our teams. The same 8 players. So we haven't been far off. There hasn't been much disagreement. And,
no, absolutely not.
And all the players that we had to leave out, I think we've given them a mention as well. It's not been easy.
No, absolutely not easy, and it's such a pleasure, and I hope it is for our listeners, just to remember those great players, to talk about them and their qualities, and to realise how much they've given to us all as football lovers. And I hope that we get back soon to seeing some real football. But in the meantime, to John Giles and to Liam Brady themselves, 2 great players who've given so much to the game, I'm very, very grateful indeed, and I'm very grateful to you for listening.